Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for making it here today. And for those of you who are joining us online, thank you very much also for taking the time today. My name is Fika Roslan. I am the representative of the Tiada Guru campaign. And just to provide a short background of the Tiada Guru campaign, in case any of you are not familiar with it. The Tiada Guru campaign is a grassroots campaign comprising whistleblowers from parents, teachers, and students. So it's not just students, but it's also the whole ecosystem around the lives of students. And we are in solidarity with the public litigation in the High Court of Kota Kinabalu, filed by 4 brave young women from Kota Belud who took their teacher, not just their teacher, but also school principal, administrators, and as well as the Ministry of Education to court for the case of extreme teacher absenteeism. So what we would like to discuss today, and the purpose of the press conference today, is to put forth our agenda for corruption-free and quality education. So what we mean by corruption-free is that unfortunately for Malaysia, we are no stranger to corruption. It happens in all sectors, and most unfortunately, it also happens in the education sector. So when we think about corruption, most of the time what we think of is money exchanging hands or tangible material things that exchange hands. But in the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act, corruption is also defined as protection or gratification. So for example, in the education sector, what we most often hear is when there is a problematic teacher or a case involving a teacher, most of the time the teacher is only transferred. They are not terminated or in other words, fired. And that is a form of protection as well. And so drawing on the example of the Kota Belud case, that is exactly what happened, where the students complained and followed the proper channels when the teacher did not attend class for months on end. So extreme teacher absenteeism is defined as, it's not just days or weeks of the teacher not attending class and not teaching, but it's also months, several months. And so when these students took the proper channels to make a complaint to their guru panitia, to the school principal, no action was taken. And in fact, unfortunately, the students and even their families received threats. Some of their families even experienced bodily harm. So this is the kind of corruption in education that we want to put an end to. And for the Tiada Guru campaign, we have come up with a few key reforms that we believe would support our agenda for corruption-free and quality education. And of the main three of the key reforms that we are looking at is, first of all, public ombudsman to end internal investigations. Secondly, enhanced whistleblower protection. And thirdly, emancipatory education. So firstly, for the independent public ombudsman to put an end to internal investigations, what happens most of the time is when there is a case, or when there is a complaint against a teacher or an officer in the education department, and it's not just education, but this is what happens across ministries and across agencies, the matter is dealt with internally. So there is an internal disciplinary body within the ministry or within the within the agency that investigates these claims and these cases or reports. But what happens is, as we have seen in the case of the students, the plaintiffs, the former Kota Belud students, when investigations are conducted internally, it just leaves a lot of room for corruption. Because unfortunately, the reality is, as we have found with this case, they are more invested in protecting their officers, protecting the reputation of the institution or the ministry or the agency, And so that is why we believe that with an independent public ombudsman who is an impartial third party, who is not appointed by any minister or any politician and answerable to Parliament for periodic reports, we believe that this would increase transparency and also protect the sanctity of and the integrity of the institution. Of course, for more details, we have provided it in our press materials as well, but in the interest of time, we will try to keep it as compact as possible. And so moving on to the second key reform that we believe would greatly help in creating corruption-free and quality education is enhanced whistleblower protection. So we do have a Whistleblower Protection Act, but the execution or the enforcement of it is another matter. And again, because it's tied together, internal investigations and unfortunately lacks whistleblower protection. That is why, first of all, we believe that there needs to be an independent public ombudsman, because then all the investigations will be carried out by an impartial third party. And so we believe that would enhance whistleblower protection, because whistleblowers who wish to come forward with reports of wrongdoings or misconduct would report directly to the independent public ombudsman and not to an officer of the ministry or the agency, or anyone within the institution who plays a role internally. And so protection will be provided by the public ombudsman. All reports will be will be made to the public ombudsman, and whistleblowers could also seek legal action via the independent public ombudsman. Again, this is to separate powers and to reduce interference as much as possible, to increase transparency, and of course to make sure and incentivize whistleblowers to come forward when there are cases of misconduct. And thirdly, moving on to emancipatory education. Unfortunately, as it stands today, the education curriculum or syllabus does little to encourage critical thinking or encourage students to think for themselves. As it stands today, the curriculum is one-sided, it is biased, and it is not inclusive. And there is more emphasis on scoring and obtaining certain grades or maintaining a certain GPA or achievement. But that should not be, so that is why we believe in what we mean by emancipatory education is to inculcate and to educate students so that they are more aware of the roles of government to the people, not just the roles of government to the people, but also the role of us as everyday citizens as well in maintaining a just, peaceful, and compassionate society. And so we believe that by reinforcing the civics and citizenship subject to include a more well-rounded curriculum, and also to include information such as practices of the different cultures and religions in Malaysia and also internationally, it would encourage and also spur a thinking of we are a collective society and we need to look out for each other and act in the best interest of the society as a whole, and not just to protect the interests of certain races or certain religions. And we hope that eventually with this revamp of an emancipatory education, that students will be able to, that it would also sort of reform or enhance or change the way teaching and learning is conducted in the classroom. So it's not just teachers disseminating information to students and students just have to accept whatever is being taught, but it's more of a process of exchange where students and teachers can learn from each other. And students are more encouraged to ask and question the teacher, so that hopefully it would encourage more of critical thinking, and which will eventually produce future generations of Malaysia who can make more informed decisions. And especially now that we are only 2 days away from the 15th general election, we very strongly urge whoever becomes the new government and whoever becomes elected representatives as a result of this next election, that they seriously take into consideration the reforms that we propose. And also, we are more than happy to have engagements and find a way to at least have some middle ground, find a way so that we can see these reforms for the benefit of the students. And I have with me here today Ms. Beverly Joman, who I believe is representing the CSO Platform for Reform that advocates for institutional reforms. And Tiada Guru is a member of the CSO Platform Network. And through this partnership and this allyship, I believe we have been able to achieve some meaningful work. And we hope that this will continue in the future. And once again, we very strongly urge better relationship and engagement between elected officials, ministers, government agencies, and between them and also civil society organizations. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Beverly to share more about institutional reforms, why it's needed, and perhaps how we can achieve it more meaningfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Fika, and thank you, Tiada Guru Campaign, for inviting me on behalf of the other platform for reform to say something about this, about the issues that were raised. And institutional TSO Platform for Reform is a coalition, it's a national coalition of 100 NGOs. And we are working on several reforms ranging from anti-corruption to education to orang asal orang asli, right down to undocumented and also PWD, person with disabilities. So the reform that Fika has mentioned just now augurs very well with the work that we are doing in the Manifesto Rakyat, which is a work of ordinary Malaysians. And we have received 300 over submissions, and one of it is on education and 3F. You look up Manifesto Rakyat 2021, and you will see that 3F is on education, and in there, it is mentioned that we need to establish, it is proposed that we need to establish a comprehensive and cohesive accountability system. There's also one on an ombudsman system to investigate complaints about maladministration and abuse of power and trust by bureaucrats and officials bearing senior positions in the Ministry of Education. So this is very much what Fika has shared. And what we do as CSO platform, what we do is we engage with the policy or the makers. Before the parliament was dissolved, we engage with both the opposition and the government officials, whether they are representatives of the state government or of the federal government. We were able to engage with them, and we were also able to push through the policies that are mentioned in the Manifesto Rakyat to the political parties, and we have been able to engage with them actively because they are also interested to know what is it that the Rakyat want to be seen in the Manifesto Rakyat. So I really hope that this Tiada Guru campaign will carry through, and support the young ladies. They were students then, they are now young ladies. The future is affected by a lazy teacher and a whole system that is backing up or covering the teachers' maladministration. corruption is not just in form of cash, in kind, it's also in form of not doing your duties while being paid for it. So the students are now faced with a bleak future because of that, because of what happened when they were in school. So Cheers platform is here to support Tiada Guru, and also with the hope that when the case is open in soon, we will be able to see some form of reform taking place beyond that court case. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all from us today. Oh, sorry. All right, so that is all from us today. But if there are any questions, either from the floor or from, oh, okay. But anyway, we will be sharing the press kit and all the materials in the media group later on, so reporters can have access to that, especially those who are unable to make it today. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Keluar Mengundi.